2016 says I just whipped your ass.
Riley! Randy! Riley! Randy! Riley! Randy! Jimmy!
This is my yard now.
Suplex City, bitch!
The Superstar Shakeup is officially in the books with this past episode of SmackDown Live. A lot of more changes being made to the roster. The likes of Jeff Hardy and Samoa Joe making their way to SmackDown. And SmackDown, overall, I've got to say, they won this year's Superstar Shakeup. Last year, it was Raw that won the Superstar Shakeup. They basically stole all of SmackDown's main event scene. Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, The Miz, Alexa Bliss on the women's side of things. But SmackDown made a triumphant comeback this year. Their roster is looking stronger than ever. This looks even better than the 2016 SmackDown roster when the draft, or the brand split, I should say, first started. So let's get right into what happened on this episode of SmackDown Live and the rest of the Superstar Shakeup. AJ Styles started out the show. He called out Shinsuke Nakamura, called him a coward, said he wanted to face that two-faced idiot or whatever he called him. And instead of getting Shinsuke, he got Rusev. And Rusev came to the ring, and they had a 15-second match. It looked like AJ Styles was about to make Rusev tap out very quickly to the calf crusher, but Aiden English interfered, causing a disqualification, which led to Daniel Bryan coming out to the ring and setting up a tag team match for later in the night, which the new SmackDown general manager Paige did announce. Now, I'm not sure how I really feel about Rusev being positioned as a heel here once again. It seemed like after WrestleMania 34 concluded that Rusev was being positioned as more of a babyface, especially in that triple threat match, I believe it was last week, with Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal. It seemed like, which Randy Orton won, it seemed like Rusev was going the way of a babyface. But then we see here tonight, he's assaulting AJ Styles. He's battling with Daniel Bryan, and it just seems like Rusev is back to being a heel, and I don't really like that. I want to see Rusev as a face right now. The audience is so behind him. If anything, he's almost as popular as Daniel Bryan is right now currently in terms of crowd reactions. So I think Rusev needs to be a babyface. No questions asked. Maybe we'll still get there, but as of right now, it looks like he is still a heel. And I got to mention, there was a funny Teddy Long impersonation by Paige when she made the tag team match between Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles versus Rusev and Aiden English for later in the night. Paige did the holla holla, playa, tag team match tonight, holla holla impersonation there. And gotta love Teddy Long, all those tag team matches that great man set up throughout the years. After that, as I mentioned earlier, we had our first major superstar shakeup of the first major Raw superstar to come to SmackDown, none other than the new United States champion, Jeff Hardy, coming to the Blue brand to do his thing, and he interrupted a Shelton Benjamin promo. Benjamin asked to face some new competition, and you knew this was leading to a new superstar coming out. Him and Jeff Hardy had a match. It was a fun little 5-minute match, brought some nostalgia back, seeing Shelton Benjamin and Jeff Hardy, two guys who were gone from WWE for years until last year when they both returned at around the same time almost. Hardy at WrestleMania and Shelton Benjamin around the summertime, I believe. So to see them wrestle each other, that was a lot of fun. Jeff Hardy picked up the victory with the Twist of Fate and Swanton Bomb combo, and Hardy is rolling. The crowd was really behind him, and I am really optimistic to see how far Jeff Hardy can go in his current run in WWE. If he can reach the heights that he did back in 2008, 2009, when he was arguably the most popular superstar in WWE, I'm not sure if he'll quite get there, but no doubt he can be a solid main event performer for the SmackDown brand. Absolution were also announced as some SmackDown pickups. That's Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. So with Paige being the new SmackDown general manager, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville also making their way to SmackDown. I'm sure we won't see Paige in a managerial role with them anymore, seeing that she is the general manager, but they're all on the same brand now. Luke Harper and Jey Uso also had a singles match. This match only went a minute. After some interference from Eric Rowan and the other Uso, Luke Harper picked up the victory pretty quickly after nailing the discus clothesline and pinning Jey Uso. After the match, Luke Harper tried to assault Uso a little bit more, but Naomi came out and begged Luke Harper not to beat up her husband with those rubber mallets that the Bludgeon Brothers have, and they showed mercy, actually. They did not inflict any more punishment on Uso, on Us, and that was the end of that. And then the next big trade or superstar to come from Raw to SmackDown was Samoa Joe, who I also mentioned earlier. He defeated Sin Cara in short work with the Coquina Clutch submission move and then called out the rest of the SmackDown roster. He said, this isn't the land of opportunity. This is a land of handouts. And everyone here, they've been having it easy with me not being on the roster, but now that I am here, things are going to be different forever. And he mocked Roman Reigns a little bit more. So looks like regardless if Roman Reigns wins the Universal Championship from Samoa Joe, we are not going to get a feud between them for the Universal title, which I'm 100% fine with, because you got to know if Roman Reigns does end up winning that championship from Brock Lesnar at the Greatest Royal Rumble, he's not going to lose it to the first competitor he faces. He's not going to lose a title in his first feud, so I'd rather not see Samoa Joe be fodder for Roman Reigns at this point. And then one of my favorite parts of the night, Sanity had some vignettes on SmackDown. So Sanity, it's official. They are making their way up to the SmackDown roster, but it's without Nikki Cross. So Killian Dane, Alexander Wolf, and their leader, Eric Young, are making their way up to the main roster on SmackDown, and I could not be more excited. And as if SmackDown's tag team division didn't already look strong enough. They kept the Bludgeon Brothers, they kept the New Day, they kept the Usos in the draft, and now they get Sanity, but we found out later on in the night, they also got the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and this one was huge. They picked up The Bar. Cesaro and Sheamus now a part of the SmackDown roster. It's ridiculous how good SmackDown's tag team division is, and I was shocked by this because Raw's tag team division before the draft was already weaker than SmackDown's. We saw a couple moves to Raw, Breezango, and one other tag team that I can't really remember right now, but we saw a couple moves from SmackDown tag teams to Raw, and I figured, okay, Raw, they got a couple more pieces here now. They really shouldn't be losing any other tag teams. The Authors of Pain were a nice addition, but here they are not only losing the Good Brothers, but they're losing their top tag team, Cesaro and Sheamus, to SmackDown. And this makes me wonder, Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy, they have to win that match at the Greatest Royal Rumble now. It's almost a little bit of a spoiler, because how can you have The Bar win that match to win the Raw Tag Team Championships if they're on SmackDown? So that kind of gives that away, but I'm super excited to see Cesaro and Sheamus on the SmackDown roster. All the possible feuds and new matchups we're going to get with the Usos, the Bludgeon Brothers, the New Day, Sanity. The list goes on and on. But as I mentioned, Raw's tag team division, since Chad Gable was moved from SmackDown to Raw, it gets me thinking, since Raw's tag team division is looking a little on the weak side right now, Chad Gable, I'm sure WWE knew Raw's tag team division was going to be looking a little weak. So with the Chad Gable move, I'm pretty sure that is going to lead to a reunion between him and Jason Jordan. Jason Jordan should be coming back soon, I believe, and that will lead to an American Alpha reunion, which will definitely give that Raw tag team division a shot in the arm. Daniel Bryan had a segment backstage, and he was interrupted pretty quickly by none other than a returning Big Cass. And Big Cass called Daniel Bryan a little man and just belittled him, no pun intended, heading into Daniel Bryan's main event showdown. And we would see more Big Cass later on in the night. Carmella also held a celebration for her SmackDown Women's Championship win last week on SmackDown, and she talked a lot of smack to Charlotte, and I really liked here how when the audience was starting to cheer her, they were starting to get behind her back, chanting, "You deserve it." Like the true villain she is, she immediately shut them up. She told them, don't jump on this bandwagon, and she really knew how to get the audience, even though maybe they wanted to cheer her right now, easy for me to say, they booed her as soon as she insulted them. So I like to see that quite a bit. Carmella playing a heel role really well here. She was eventually interrupted by Charlotte. Charlotte was cutting a little bit of a promo saying she'd get her revenge, and Charlotte was interrupted by the Iconics. And they all started to assault Charlotte when Becky Lynch made the save. I thought we were going to see a new superstar, a new women's wrestler from Raw come out to make the save, but we didn't yet because they go to commercial. Charlotte and Billie Kay of the Iconics have a match together. Charlotte wins with a figure 8. The brawl ensues again between all these ladies, and none other than Asuka makes her way to SmackDown to make the save. So even SmackDown's women's division right now is looking superior to Raw's, in my opinion. And Asuka and Charlotte now on the same brand. You got to wonder if we're going to see a rematch sometime down the road. Maybe Asuka gets her win back for losing at WrestleMania to Charlotte sometime soon. There's also a funny little backstage segment with R-Truth and New Day and Ty Dillinger. R-Truth now on the SmackDown roster, and he thought he was on Monday Night Raw. Afterwards, he said, "My bad," and good old R-Truth. Gotta love the confused R-Truth. Great gimmick that he has there. And yeah, that was a good comedy segment over there. And Sanity wasn't the only NXT call-up that we had on this episode of SmackDown. We also saw that Andrade Cien Almas also making his way to SmackDown. So on Raw, Drew McIntyre being called up from NXT, and on SmackDown, Andrade Cien Almas being called up from NXT. No Johnny Gargano yet, no Tommaso Ciampa, none of those guys, but Andrade Cien Almas, I believe he is ready for the main roster, and I expect big things from him, especially considering he has his manager, Selena Vega, by his side, which should make for a pretty entertaining run for Andrade. And those were all the shakeup moves on SmackDown. The main event, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, they defeated Rusev Day by DQ because as the match was going on, right towards the end, AJ Styles, he's assaulted by Shinsuke Nakamura, who low blows AJ Styles again while AJ is not in the match. He's on the apron waiting to be tagged in. Shinsuke low blows him once again, and this got me thinking, man, Shinsuke really does not like AJ Styles' balls. This is what, the 6th, the 5th low blow in 2 weeks? So, man, Shinsuke Nakamura, the Nutcracker, with another low blow to AJ Styles. And Daniel Bryan, when it looked like he was about to pick up the victory, he had his comeback. He nailed the running knee on Rusev. None other than Big Cass came out to assault Daniel Bryan. The match ended in DQ. And Big Cass looks like he is going to be Daniel Bryan's first feud, since the WWE Championship scene is currently tangled up with AJ and Shinsuke Nakamura. There's no room for Daniel there right now. So it looks like his first feud will be against Big Cass. And at first, I wasn't quite sure how I felt about this. Daniel Bryan seems like he's above Big Cass, and he should be feuding in a more prominent role against someone, like I said, of a higher position than Big Cass. But it got me thinking, if Daniel Bryan isn't going to be wrestling for the WWE Championship right now, Shinsuke and AJ are both busy. Samoa Joe probably is going to wrestle some other people, but now that I think about it, Samoa Joe versus Daniel Bryan could be great. And we don't really want to see Daniel Bryan compete for the United States Championship right now against Jeff Hardy. Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan, been there, done that. Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan isn't a bad feud at all to start for both of those guys as they ease back in to an in-ring return for Big Cass, that is, and Daniel Bryan, his in-ring return in general. So I'm expecting some good things from there. I think it could really make Big Cass look good, and it gives Daniel Bryan something slightly intriguing to do while he waits for the WWE Championship picture to free up for him. So that does it for me, guys. Thank you for listening to another episode of Willpower Wrestling here on YouTube. If you liked hearing this, then you can listen to more of this on Willpower Radio. I'm on KKSM AM 1320 or PalomarCollegeRadio.com or Cox Channel 957. If you do live in the San Diego area, you can catch me every Monday from 2 to 4 p.m. I get into WWE news and discussion for over an hour. So this is really just a teaser. If you want the rest of the cake, if you like this bite and you want the rest of that cake, then you can listen to it right there. But until next time, I will see you guys later here on Willpower Wrestling.